How was my run?
Yeah, how was your run?
I hate it every time. It's
You
horrible.
hate it every time. You just keep
Every
doing it
time.
anyways. You just push through.
Yeah, because then I like how I feel after the run.
Yeah, do you not get a runner's high?
Yeah, it takes a while.
Yeah, I feel like you're naturally just a little bit high on life.
Yeah, I don't need any runner's
So
high.
you don't need
In
a
fact,
runner's high. Yeah.
the whole purpose of me running is to exhaust me so that I'm not so hyper on like here, so everyone can understand what I'm saying.
Welcome back to Adulthood, friends. This is the discussion-based podcast where two former childhood acquaintances, now friends, discuss the things that matter.
The things that matter, not the things that truly matter.
Whichever one you like, whichever one you prefer.
We're never gonna settle. We're never gonna settle on.
No, I just picked based on the episode. Last time we said truly. This time we say.
Well, the things that maybe matter.
The things that maybe matter. I like that actually. Yeah. Okay. The things that maybe matter.
The things that maybe matter. We'll just throw a different adverb in every episode.
Is maybe an adverb? I guess it is.
Oh wait, is it?
I think it's more.
That's hard to. That's a good question.
Let's Google it.
You and I should know these things.
Oh, whatever.
We're supposed to be good at words.
We're supposed to be. It is an adverb, yeah.
Hey.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about insecurities. So I think it's safe to say that we're all kind of affected by that, either by our own or others' insecurities. So it seemed like a nice universal topic.
Insecurities.
Insecurities.
I can't wait to talk about I can wait, actually. How about we don't talk? I'm insecure about talking about insecurities.
Yeah, we should point out Josh was not enthused about this choice, but
well, it's the whole part. That's what an insecurity is. You want to.
So yeah.
I was enthused about you choosing a topic, and you went right for a topic that is like, let's talk about things that people don't want to talk about.
Yeah. Also, the fact that you were so hesitant really made me want to discuss it even more. So it's enough chitter chatter. Let's get into it. And we're back. So Josh.
Yes, Aya?
Give me a full list of your insecurities, please. You have 1 minute. No.
Yeah, okay, starting with, well, how about you first?
So really what I want to talk about, or what we wanted to talk about today, Josh, however, reluctantly, was how do you deal with insecurities? So not just your own, but how do you deal with other people having insecurities, right? Because we're not just dealing with our own. Maybe we deal with a partner's insecurities. We deal with parents' insecurities, friends' insecurities. So how do you approach them? And are there maybe some insecurities that you felt you've overcome? Sometimes we can talk about insecurities very easily, and those are usually the ones that we feel kind of farther away from, or that we accepted in some way. Exactly. They used to be a problem, but now we've grown past it, or we've accepted this part of us.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there are some that you still struggle with. And there is that critical inner voice that we have mentioned before. So like that running commentary, just like the asshole in your brain, just like
the little
pointing out everything you're doing.
Yeah.
The little Ayesha in your brain, pointing out everything you're doing incorrectly, how badly you're doing it. What a terrible person you are for all of the things you're doing badly, and just the worst things about yourself. Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe am I the only one with one of those?
No, I think you're onto something there. We do have that little voice. I think most of us do.
Yeah, I think so. And a lot of the time it comes with a belief that there's something inherently wrong with us. So, I mean, if you're really listening to that voice, or if you identify a lot more with that voice, then you might think there's something very wrong with me, and just me. Interestingly, though, many people think that. So it's at least a problem that you share with many people if you are one of those. Josh, you're so quiet. It's so strange. Maybe you ran a bit too long, because I've never been allowed to talk for this long, and it actually makes me a little anxious.
Maybe we're talking about insecurities, and I'm like, I can be quiet now.
Yeah, you're like,
that's
I'm
okay.
Just gonna sit back and see what happens here. Yeah, you're very insecure about insecurities. So, I mean, okay, so I think we could kind of sort them. There are the most obvious ones. So things like body image, physical appearance in general. That's a pretty obvious one. I'd say most people have something like that. Then there's like intelligence, other personality things. We all kind of worry about that stuff too, for the most part. I guess ignorance is bliss. There must be someone out there not worrying about that stuff. And then I think there are those things that feel a bit more specific to us. So just like that little
Some
thing that just,
experience that like
yeah,
triggered a specific insecurity in you that
exactly.
is so like, oh, really?
Yeah. So those can get fun. And I mean, I'm always fascinated when people tell me about those things. And I actually thought when I was kind of thinking about this, I started thinking about Mrs. Delaney again, our dear old, dear dead Mrs. Delaney,
Oh my
because
Lord.
because well, one, I don't have to worry that she's going to listen to this, so I can say whatever I want, unless people go to Spotify when they die.
That's people
That's
go
not a
to
good
no,
thing.
that's great. That's great. I mean, it's great. I think that's right. Maybe people go to Spotify when they die. Now we know your religious beliefs.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to rest in peace.
Who knew? After crapping on everyone's religious beliefs a couple episodes ago, turns out you believe people go to Spotify when they die.
I didn't even know. I think I'm just having a religious
Mrs.
experience
Delaney
right
is
now.
up there in heaven, assumedly.
I hope she's listening. I hope she is
Yeah.
listening to this. So I was thinking of Mrs. Delaney as one of those adults. Okay, because let's be serious. Many of our insecurities come from very early on, right? They'll be like, oh, as a kid, I was this and this and this. And that has carried on, whether or not anybody sees that in you as an adult, or even if you're like that anymore. So I was talking about Mrs. Delaney as one of the examples of an adult, and I mean kids do it too, and people in general. They tend to notice the thing that you're the most insecure about, or that maybe you weren't insecure, but you will be by the time they're done with you, right? So yeah, and it's kind of like picking out a weakness in someone and attacking it. It's just like a chink in the armor, but it's actually just like something about you that's just so bullyable. I don't know. Is that a
Oh, you're talking to, yeah, no, I have lots
I
of
don't know.
bullyable traits. So for
Not
sure.
you. I'm not saying you specifically.
No,
You're
but I mean,
taking this.
I relate. I
Yeah,
understand
you
that.
relate.
So
Exactly.
I get
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, she bullied.
But you're
Yeah.
bringing up Mrs. Delaney. Did Mrs. Delaney
Yeah.
did this teacher bring out
Of
an
course.
insecurity in you?
Of
That
course. I
was,
mean, so she's just an easy one to pick out. I think. So I mean, I don't know if this is the best example. I wasn't going to start with this one, but I I'm I cry very easily as an adult, as a child, all the time. And I've always seen it as like it's not just that I've seen it as a sign of weakness, but it's generally considered like you're weak, you can't take criticism. I mean, Mrs. Delaney was one of the people who pointed this out. So was my dance teacher. She'd say, some of you are really good at taking criticism, and some of you don't. And I mean, I get along with her now, and she's very nice. So I guess I don't want to.
for those listening, Mrs. Delaney was a very, I mean,
I just assume everyone knew.
she's an old school, like if she could beat you, she would have teacher,
Yeah.
but she
Let's
wasn't
paint a
allowed. And
picture.
she would remind you like, oh, if these laws hadn't changed in my day, I could,
Actually, yeah, she would say that
you
stuff,
wouldn't be
wouldn't
able
she?
to walk after we were done.
Did she say that, or is that just like what we've added on to
No, she
her?
did actually. I think she actually used to say like, you're lucky, you're lucky this isn't like 40 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
I feel
And
like
she's
she used
like,
to
I'm
say stuff like
disappointed,
that.
but I'm disappointed it's not 40 years ago, because these
Yeah,
meter
she's like,
sticks,
is
like what
this
else were they
ruler?
used?
She
A
threatened us
meter
with a
stick.
meter stick.
Yeah. I mean, were those things good for anything but being like fake swords?
I feel like, yeah, they
Um,
were basically like, they were
what else
basically
were
just to
you?
beat kids with.
Yeah, they must have been. So, and for those of you who don't know who Mrs. Delaney is, I don't know why I suddenly assumed that everyone knew.
We did
She
talk
was,
about her in a previous episode,
we did talk about her, but maybe this is the first one you're listening to. So she's, so picture Jane Lynch dressed in like an
perfect.
extremely, it's a similar look in her angriest role, but also like sickly sweet occasionally. So
Yeah, like
that's,
she read Harry. One of my favorite memories of Mrs.
yeah, she
Delaney is
read Harry Potter to us.
she
I
read
know.
Harry Potter to us, and
Yeah.
I got into Harry Potter because of that.
She did ruin my book though. Like I lent her the second Harry Potter, and she like cracked the spines of books. So she would bend it
Ooh.
backwards. So my second Harry, like the first and third ones are fine. And like I gave them to my nephews, and they were like, "What's wrong with the second one?" I was like, "An evil old lady destroyed it," because she would smoke next to it, and it stank like smoke, and
Oh.
it fell apart, like the spine broke. So Guys, don't break the
Well.
spines of books. Anyways, that's not the worst thing she did. But yeah, you're right. No, it's confusing because she was
There
really
were a
lovely
couple
in some
things.
ways and really like
But that's also, I
terrible in
mean, let's be honest,
others.
she was kind of an abusive teacher. And
Kind of very,
and
yeah.
that's the thing about abusive
That's what
people, is that
yeah,
they're not
exactly.
abusive all the time. Abusive people can be nice sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you get that's a cognitive dissonance you get in your head sometimes about your loyalty to those people and things like that, because you remember the good too. They're not just totally evil.
Well,
But
and that's
yeah, she
yeah,
made everybody cry. She made me
she
cry
made
a
everyone
lot.
cry. Yeah, that's fair. I guess I just because she used to say, I guess like I had a big mouth. I mean, I was a little kid. We all kind of, but one of my things was I would say things that maybe I shouldn't say. I guess I haven't gotten over that, but I'm okay.
What's changed? No, this will be a running joke throughout this
Uh,
episode.
so she used to say to me, "Oh, you can dish it out, but you sure can't take it, sunshine." And I was like, "I guess I can't take it. I can
Yeah,
dish it
what's
out."
changed? I know.
Yeah, I know, right? I
Okay,
can
we're
take
gonna
it
stop. We're gonna
now.
stop this.
But
It's a
yeah, I mean, it
preemptive
wasn't just
attack
with
because you're gonna do this to
what.
me. It's a
Yeah,
preemptive
yeah. No, it's fine. I'm just taking notes right now. Josh was a
preemptive
quick
strike.
reminder to attack him at his weakest point. Okay, gotcha. But yeah, I think like maybe this isn't the best. It's one of the examples of something that's particular, but I can't even get in a serious conversation. I'm getting better at it, but for a long time I couldn't have a serious conversation um, without crying. Like
Really?
it was just, yeah, it was just like
I
as if I'm in
Faya, I don't
trouble.
remember you ever crying.
Really? Oh,
I
that's
don't think I've
great.
ever seen you cry.
Are you sure? That seems
I mean, as a kid, it must have happened, but I
it happened
I don't
all the
remember it.
time.
Maybe you just
Yeah.
avoided it.
Well, I used to run away and hide. There was a
You
bathroom that I
did.
really liked. Yeah.
Like Moaning Myrtle from Harry Potter.
Yeah,
No.
it was Moaning Myrtle. It was actually like the bathroom that didn't work in the basement. I had like a little corner in there that I
Oh,
was like, it's good.
that was your cry
Um,
space.
it was my little cry space. Yeah. Now
Now,
I use
correct me if I'm
closets.
wrong. Isn't it
Closets are
less of
good.
a like? Aren't I don't. I always felt like, oh, girls can cry, no one cares. Like
I
as a
mean,
guy, if you cry more, that was
I
kind of a
understand
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah, so okay, so there aren't as many like it wasn't a problem of my gender, but I didn't want to be seen as weak.
I would say you were the kind of, like we said, top of the food chain in the class
Oh,
to
no,
the
no, but
girls.
I mean,
You kind of you exerted a sense of power. Maybe you didn't want to you didn't want to like betray that by crying
I
in
think
front of the people that
mm,
you had
I
power
think
over
I think it was less that. I think it was more just like I saw being sensitive as so this is what I was getting to
as
with
a
the crying
weakness.
is being sensitive was seen as a weakness. And it often is like I noticed this with like my nephew who's we were saying like, oh, he's sensitive. And for me that's a compliment, but like he was he took it as an insult and he was like, when kids say you're sensitive, it means like it's a bad thing. And I was like, oh yeah, because you say like, oh, why are you so sensitive? Nobody's like, oh, you're well, maybe they do say, oh, you're so sensitive. But anyways, it felt like a weakness. Maybe that was a bad insecurity to start with. I should start with a
No, but wait,
more.
I have a question. Did you ever attack
I'm being
other people
insecure
for
about
crying?
which insecurity I chose. What?
Did you ever attack other people for crying? Like, did you ever like
No,
make fun of them
I don't think so. No, I actually can't watch other people crying without crying a
without
little.
crying?
Legitimate. Like if they're really crying, I'll usually like in
That's empathy
movies.
right there. That's some empathy you got,
I don't
emotional
know.
empathy.
I feel like it's something. Sure, let's say I'm like really empathetic. I'm just like so empathetic. I just can't even I just can't even not cry.
I mean, I
Um
like how your insecurity is that you like cry. You feel like you cry too easily. Like to
so
me, I mean, I mean, I don't want to like
yeah.
undersell your insecurity.
No,
I mean,
no,
that's if
please.
that bothers you, but I don't know. Especially as we get older, I don't think I think many of us can agree. Oh, that's great. You're sensitive and
But
you
sometimes you're
care.
angry and you're trying to get something out or you want to be serious and you just start crying or like I cry at the worst times and it if I get into like a okay, so one time this was at the dance school. I don't know, I did something wrong and they pointed it out again. And the teacher said something like, I don't know how we're going to get through to you. You keep doing the same mistake over and over again. For
Ooh,
some reason, it set me off. I don't know why. Like they were always kind of like that. So like,
it's a
and
little hard.
it's a little harsh to like a kid.
Yeah.
And I just started like hiccupy, I can't breathe, cry for hours. Literally like the rest of the day, I kept doing the dancing stuff and I was just crying the entire time. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I couldn't calm down. So I
That
think I'm gonna
causes
cut all
anxiety.
this
I can
because I
see
feel
that, like
really,
being it. No, that's how we're gonna feel after every
yeah.
section here. I
Oh
mean, it's a
man,
good entryway point here because honestly,
I
and it's
changed. Yeah,
interesting because for some people that's more of an insecurity than others, and I think that's one of the things we can get into. For you, that's like a huge insecurity, and for other people, that's like a badge of honor. And then maybe for for it
yeah.
really depends on. I mean, there's other people out there. I remember being insecure about the fact that I didn't cry. Here, let's go super serious. Like when my mother passed, I didn't cry like
Oh,
for a little while. I did
well,
eventually,
but that's
but I was
also normal,
insecure
isn't it?
about that.
Okay.
We learn about how that's normal and why and stuff, but I remember being super insecure about not crying. Aren't I supposed to cry? What does that mean? What does that make
Yeah.
me? You know? And then I mean, the way we respond to death and everything, we've gotten into that before, but that's the whole other thing to get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it can go, imagine not crying when you feel like you should cry. It can also be an insecurity. And it depends what can trigger those things. I mean, I guess a good question is, where do insecurities come from in the
Yeah.
first place?
Okay, and I
Like, do
want to
you
get
know
to
where
that,
this came from for you?
but I do want to. I just realized, like, while we were talking, I think it's partly the loss of control. It's like the lack of control over the crying. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
Does that make
You
sense?
like to
Yeah.
have control and you couldn't control this thing about you, and that was
Ever.
weakness.
Exactly. Yeah. There we go.
Hmm.
Okay, now let's get
That
back to
is
that
interesting.
question.
So that does answer part of the question. We're asking, where do
Oh yeah.
these insecurities come from? Well, that's one thing.
Mm,
That's one idea, right? So that's one that comes from you and your own sense of need for control. So that's where that insecurity comes from, that you're betraying your own identity. Like you
yeah.
identify as this. You say this is who I am, and then your own actions betray who you say you are, and that
Yeah.
causes you an insecurity.
That's exactly it. Oh man, this is better than therapy. Thank you, Josh.
This is therapy. This is free. We're basically just, you guys are
We're just
just like
posting our
listening in on our
therapy,
therapy.
our co-therapy sessions. Yeah.
Exactly.
We
I
just
don't know.
slap on a title, call it a podcast, and
I
boom.
mean, what other types of insecurity? Every time people have probably listened to us and heard our insecurities actually come out while we're talking
Oh
before.
yeah,
I mean,
probably.
I have a big insecurity about my own hyperness in my voice, and how I'm like, I can talk a lot and I can talk really, really fast. Everybody who knows me, who's known me through my life, they know this. This is like a Josh thing, right? He talks really fast. But the worst thing is that I don't want to. I don't start off a conversation going, oh my God, I'm going to steamroll them with my voice today.
It's this is one of those things that, like, from the outside, I think feels very different than from the inside. So maybe it's annoying for you. Like sometimes I'll just be like, Josh, oh my God, go for a run. But like you're
The fact that I have to go for a run to calm down my voice is just so, like, I'm condescending myself. Uh, like, there, child.
but from the
Go.
outside, it doesn't seem like a bad thing. It's like, oh my gosh, he has so much energy.
I mean, you could
We're
positively spin it,
yeah.
but I mean, where do these things come from, right? I remember grade 2, we had a teacher, Miss Kinahan. We talked about her before too. She's the one, I'm pretty sure, who coined the name motor mouth. She called me motor mouth in
That's so
grade
bad.
2.
I'm sorry
That's
that I'm
grade 2.
smiling. It's just a
Yeah,
little,
and
it's a
the thing
little
is,
funny, but it's terrible.
I
Who names a
know,
kid
but
that?
look at it.
Yeah.
People who know me today are going. I bet you somebody just listened to me say that and they go, "Oh yeah, that's so true. Look at him. He's basically a motor mouth." And that's not even the only. I think I was either her or somebody else in the class that called me Yakety Yak Ross Littman, and Ross is my middle name. There, everybody
Oh
knows
yeah,
that.
I was like, what's with Ross? Yeah.
Yeah, that's my middle name, Yakety Yak Ross Littman. That wasn't fun, And okay, so I started to get very early on this idea that I talk more than other people and I talk faster than other people.
Mm.
And that's not that, again, if it doesn't fall in line with everybody else, that's not a good thing. And it can create a false impression, or it can give the impression that let's say I don't like to listen. I love listening to other people,
Yeah.
but when you talk a lot or you talk really fast, people think that you don't.
Right. Yeah,
Sometimes they're
that's
like, oh, he
interesting.
just
Yeah.
probably just wants to talk about him, or he has to talk about his own things.
Yeah.
And I remember this this extends into adulthood for me. Like my friend, I have this friend, his name is Jay Wu, Yeah, he's a Korean guy, and we were friends in high school. I was recently actually I was a groomsman at his wedding, and I remember he said to me, Josh, so I have to make a confession to you. I have to tell you something. He's like, for about like the first 6 months that I knew you, I couldn't understand a thing that you said. I didn't know what I would just, you would say stuff and I would just nod. And I would just like nod in agreement and you would just keep going. And he's like, I didn't know what you were. I'm like, nothing. He's like, not really. And I was like, 6 months, or it was like a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And okay, I mean, the positive side, he spun it positively eventually by saying, eventually, because he had to learn to understand me, it helped him understand everybody's English
Yeah.
better. Because if
Everybody
he
else
could
is way
understand me,
easier.
yeah, if he could
Yeah.
understand me, he can understand anybody. So when he eventually,
There's like,
yeah,
it's funny. There's like levels of fluency in a language, right? So like, there's like the top level of fluency, and then there's like understanding Josh Lippman, like one above that.
you know what? That's even as you're saying that, like I'm like cringing, like God, I
Oh,
don't want to be
sorry.
that person. No, but
Oh
that's true.
no.
It's just I don't want to be that
Yeah.
person. And I asked myself, okay, where does this come from? Why am I like this? And
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things. I know that my brain gets ahead of my ability
Yeah.
to, I'm constantly, I need stimulation, right? I need mental stimulation. I'm constantly thinking, and I feel like I'm going to lose my train of thought if I don't get it out now. I'm not going to be able to get it out, and I'm always playing catch up with myself, basically.
Yeah.
And then I start having an insecurity about like, well, does what I have to say, does it even matter? Is it that important? Let it
Oh yeah,
go.
we all have that one too. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
cares? Like, I didn't need to say what I was thinking.
Oh.
Um, so then again, there's so much that ties into that. But yeah, that's always been an insecurity for me. And of course, I make friends nowadays who find the positive in that. I also have a self-awareness about it. So maybe I'll disclaimer people when I start talking to them. I'll say, hey, just so you know, I get it. I'm exhausting in how I speak. I'm you can't get a word in. You're probably trying to get a word in right now, and I'm not
I've
even
been
letting you.
trying for the past 20 minutes, and I just
Wait, no, this is the episode where you've
no.
been. No, no,
I've
no.
been
See,
talking.
there we
I
go. See, I
actually
feel so much better. Do you know how good I feel about that? I'm ruining it right now.
do you know that I get anxious when I've been talking for too long. I used to, I think I still do it a little bit. I'll start talking, and if everyone's listening and it's been a while, I'm like, is this even interesting? Is anyone like, should I stop talking? Why am I still talking? Like, I'll do that out loud. People are like, oh my God, like it was fine until you started with that.
Until you started.
Until you started with that
You
crap. Like,
sabotaged yourself.
yeah.
We
Yeah. So I mean,
sabotage us. Do you think we sabotage ourselves with our insecurities?
yeah, yeah, because I mean, sometimes nobody would even notice those things, or like, I mean, okay, it's good to be self-aware. It's good to work on things if you can.
Hmm.
It's good to like know maybe what some problems are, not problems necessarily, but like to know if something is a problem so that you can either accept it or try to deal with it in some way. But sometimes if it's something that you can't do anything about, or something that really isn't a problem, and you just keep making it a problem, it's your insecurity
Hmm.
about that thing that's making it a problem, not the thing itself.
But would you say that, I mean, sometimes our insecurities get reinforced for better or worse. Like if I'm censoring myself or I'm slowing down and everyone goes, wow, look at you, you're such a pleasant person to be around. Or if I'm super tired, people like to tell me when I'm tired, oh, you're so easy to talk to
Oh
today.
my God.
You're so normal. And then I
Oh.
realize, and then apparently only when I'm super tired am I down at everybody else's level energy wise. And then I'm like, wow, I have to be tired and exhausted to be
Oh,
normal. And and then I get that reinforced.
right.
This is something to be insecure about. So I mean, it doesn't come from nowhere. Obviously, our insecurities do get reinforced, whether it's a teacher
Yeah.
telling the whole. By the way, the teacher said that in front of the whole class.
Oh, for sure. I definitely remember motor mouth
Yeah,
at least.
that
Yeah.
was a thing which first of all, that teacher is now looking back, said a few things in front of the whole class. She like
Yeah.
spoiled the tooth fairy for
Yeah, she's
everybody.
the tooth fairy spoiler. Yeah. Terrible. I mean, yeah, that's
Yeah,
just
and
brutal.
she called me a motor mouth, and
Yeah.
anyway,
She did also teach us to meditate though, so
she did teach us to meditate. She made us feel she would she would be like, all right, everybody, now you're lying on a cloud. I want you to picture the cloud. It's real fluffy and white, and now you're floating in the air. You're
I
flying
feel like you're doing
through
half
the
Donald
cloud.
Trump right now. You're doing like half of your Donald Trump impression. And
I'm sorry.
right?
I've had, maybe I've been doing that
You've
impression
had
too much
4
over the
years of
last 4 years.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done Miss Kinahan in a while, so excuse me.
Yeah. I don't even
But
remember what she talked like. The only thing I
she
remember is her like, stop. She used to like put her hands out. Nobody can see me. She would put her hands out and yell, stop. And then she would go, the
that's
noise
a good
level
impression.
is going down.
Going down.
And then we would
I
all have to
remember
be
that.
quiet. Yeah.
Although I
Like
do
she'd be,
remember with the meditation, she made me feel like I thought, wow, if I do this right, I'll be able to fly.
yeah, we
I
all
thought she
thought
was giving
meditating
me,
was levitating. Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was like a superpower. Like I thought she was teaching us to use a superpower.
And I mean, now it's normal in classes to like people do meditation now, but back then, meditation was not a thing that people did with kids or like in general.
No, that
She
was
was
our first
definitely,
introduction to it.
and I mean, this was what, 20, however many years ago,
Yeah.
20 something. How old are we?
We were in
But yeah,
grade 2. That's what it
great
was.
too.
I'd rather talk about anything but insecurities.
I can see, no, you've done a great job. You're talking about it. You're doing great, Josh. It's
Well,
okay.
we're starting with the easy ones, aren't we? I mean, this isn't easy, but I guess I've at least come to terms, like you said, I came to
Yeah.
terms with the fact that I can, yeah, I talk fast. Everybody knows that. I know that. That one is at least one that's very on the surface and is readily available. There's ones that are beneath the surface, right?
Right. Oh, and like the good thing, so what you were saying about whether it can sabotage you or not. I mean, I think you kind of have a good example with the talking quickly, in that you know how to manage it. So you found a way to manage it. For example, before this podcast, you go for a run. So something like
Yeah.
that is like
Now,
something
okay,
that
to
you
be
needed the
fair, it's a good,
self-awareness to do it. Yeah.
to be
Go ahead.
fair, I go for that run. It's a good reason. I need to go for runs. So now it
Okay.
has an extra, because I hate them, right? I hate going for runs.
Yeah. Right.
I have
Yeah.
to come
I
up
guess.
with good reasons.
Sure, let's go with that. I feel like you're being okay. So it's not because you talk too quickly?
I mean, I didn't start running because I talked too quickly. Why do you go for runs? Are you trying to like be fit?
No.
No, I just talk a
Yeah,
lot. I need to tire myself out. But I am aware that it puts me in a better mood, or it mellows me out. I get mellowed out a little bit. And look, if you don't think I'm mellow right now, what does that say if I don't go for a run then? You can listen to me talk in episode 5 or whatever, and or 3 or
I
whatever
think
it was.
those they were still fine. I mean, everything's fine. Your
I'm like,
energy really does get me
that's me
going,
the whole
so it's
time.
good. Yeah. Actually, I'm annoyed more by people who talk slowly. So your fast talking is fine. So we're good.
You know what
I
I
mean,
do?
that's
I
my
tend
problem.
to, part of that is
No
I fill
offense
in,
to anybody who speaks
I
slowly.
fill in silences.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I see, I'm
So
talking
it's
over you.
never uncomfortable. If anything, we talk over each other a little too much, but it's fine.
Do you feel like
Everybody's
that's also like, I have an insecurity about silence sometimes as well. Like it goes the other way. Like maybe we all
I
do.
mean,
I don't
that's
even know if
just
that's insecurity.
no. I think
It's
most
discomfort.
yeah, most people are uncomfortable with silence. Sorry, no, that's not an insecurity. Save it for the next episode, Josh.
But I do fill in that adds to me jibber jabbering too much because I fill in those silences as well.
Right.
So then I
Yeah,
start
but
getting it
okay.
adds to that feeling constantly of I don't shut up.
Right. But I mean, maybe what you deem as silence is actually just other people like pausing to think or waiting until you're done so that they can start talking. But to you, it seems like a silence that you need to fill.
Exactly. And that's not something
Yeah.
you see what I mean? On the other hand, I guess there are
I was
people
kind of
who
being a jerk there, but you just took it as like, yeah, that's exactly it. I'm
But,
sorry.
I mean, yes. On the other hand, there are people who probably appreciate when someone else
For
takes
sure.
those silences and so they don't feel the anxiety about having to force or push conversation. So I do help a lot of introverted people sometimes feel
Or
more
socially anxious, etc. Yeah. So
yeah.
I mean, I was partly saying it and like, yeah, it definitely makes it easier for me to talk because I stop worrying about what I should be saying. And just if a thought comes up, I'm like, I should probably say it now, because if I don't say it now, I won't get a chance. Because you've got a lot of material in there, right? Like, so I gotta say it. Am I upsetting you? You don't look happy right now.
No,
I'm
you're
so
not.
sorry.
I'm just listening. See, look, as soon as I'm not talking, you start to wonder. Josh
Well, I
isn't
thought
talking right now.
you
Josh.
were inscrutable. Your face was I couldn't tell what was happening, and then I was like, maybe I'm being mean. This is an insecurity of his, and I'm pointing it out.
I was just listening.
You were just listening? Oh, people
See,
listening really.
I just got negative reinforcement from my listening right there for just being quiet. So
Oh,
now I'm gonna be now my brain is telling me, wow, I need to keep talking so she doesn't feel uncomfortable when I'm being
no,
quiet. See what I
it's
mean?
okay. We're
You
good.
get reinforced.
We're good. It's okay. I'm so sorry. I'm not helping at all. Okay, so moving on. So we have those like specific ones. I think we got some good examples. Oh, another one. I think this is pretty common, but social anxiety, sometimes reinforced. So like I'm often anxious about, have I offended someone? I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I'm sure that'll make you feel better.
Oh, Gracie, you're having this insecure. See, that's my
Yeah,
insecurity every single episode. So
but
I feel
yeah.
a
Okay.
relief that it's
So
on
you,
you and not me.
perfect. All right. And we're both working through it because I'm very uncomfortable talking too much, but let's see. So I often like I'll leave any kind of social interaction, and on the one hand I'm like blunt and I'll say whatever, but then I'll go home and be like, oh my God, did I offend this person? Do you think they thought that I was making fun of them? Do you think that I didn't mean to blah blah blah? And I feel all these stupid feelings. And often no one knows what I'm talking about. But sometimes they do. And sometimes it's worse than I thought. So like, for example, one of the people in my grad school friend group, he often had like parties. Him and his like girlfriend would host parties often, and at one of them, I don't know, it was kind of late in the night, so we were all getting a bit silly, and one of the girls there, she spoke a few different languages. English wasn't her first language, and when she was telling the story about how like in wherever she was from, they would like throw a ball over like the balcony and toss it to like your friends, like you would all play in the same area. But for some reason, the way she said ball made me think bowl. She must have said ball like bowl. And all I pictured was her tossing a bowl of cereal like down 3 flights and having someone catch a bowl of cereal. And I remember picturing it like that, and like, and when I explained it to my friend, we start laughing hysterically, and like it's stupid, but it was funny, the image in my head. And she took it as like, oh, they're laughing at me, and I felt bad, and I was checking with my friend like, do you think she was offended by us, like? And he was like, no, she knew we were just like, we're just joking around. Nobody was intending to like make fun of her or anything. It was a dumb image in your head. I was like, okay, good. And months later, there's another party at the same person's house, and this girl shows up, and I'm standing there next to a different friend of mine who I guess looks a little. Is this story boring? You look bored right now.
No, it's not. It's like I'm
Oh
invested
my
in the
God.
story. It's happening in real time. This is real
So,
time insecurity.
oh my God, yeah. So,
I'm like annoyed now that I'm into the story and now I have to wait even
oh, I'm
longer
so sorry. I'm
to get
sorry. Okay.
to the it's
Okay.
interesting. I know where I could sense where this is going, and I can already relate.
Okay. So this girl, the same girl shows up. I'm standing next to a friend of mine that I don't think we look alike, but sometimes people seem to think we do. Both have dark hair. I guess that's similar enough. So my friend like goes to the girl, she's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. Like, and the girl's like, oh, we've met. And my friend's like, oh, really? Like, I didn't, where do we meet from? And she's like, yeah, you were laughing at me at the last time we were here. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so she thinks that's me. She thinks
There's a
my
lot
friend
going
is
on
me.
here. Okay.
Yeah. She remembers, and she definitely thought that I was laughing at her, which I wasn't intending. That was not my intention. I felt pretty bad about it, but whatever. So in my head, I could have said something, but I was also thinking like, she looks really angry still. She's clearly been holding this in. And my friend is like taller than me. She could, like, in a fight, she would definitely do a lot better than I would. So like I'm sitting there like, what should I
Should
kind
I
of like
let
had,
this happen?
I don't want to fight this girl about, I don't know, like what was I supposed to, I could have just okay, in hindsight. Yes. Clearly in hindsight I should have just been like, that was me, but I really didn't mean to, all of that stuff that nice people say. But no, I was just sitting there
I think
like,
I know one of your
what?
other insecurities is that you think you're not that nice.
That is actually, that's a good one.
But we'll get to that.
I'm in the middle of my story, Josh. God damn it. No, that's good. You're right. So I'm sitting there like watching this unfold, and my friend's like, I don't think so. And she was like, well, it was you or someone like you. And I'm like trying to like look not guilty, however that is. And yeah, she just kept going on. My friend was like, I swear I wouldn't. I don't, English isn't my first language. I wouldn't be making fun of your English. She's like, no, I remember this girl. She spoke a few languages too. So it was weird that she was making fun. And I was like, okay, so she doesn't know that much about me. She also maybe thinks English is my second language. So maybe I'm safe.
You know some Hebrew.
So
We learned some
hey,
French.
my
Okay.
Spanish is better than my Hebrew. Yeah, it's the truth of it. Yeah, so she knew I was from the Hispanic studies, so I think she must have assumed that Spanish was my first language.
Oh
Anyways,
when was this?
this was like 2 years ago.
Oh, this was recently.
This was recent. Yeah, it was in grad
I was
school.
gonna be like, well, you were young, you know.
No, I was not. I have no excuse. And the whole party, this girl was like staring us down, and she knew it was one of us. Oh, I also started blaming a different person who was at the first party, but not at this one. I started going like, no, actually, you just don't remember because we all look similar. I can't admit now, like the longer I wait, the worse this is. And that girl sat there the whole party. And like at one point she was sitting with another girl and like staring me and my friend down, like trying to figure out who it was. And eventually I was like to my friend, like, hey, it was me. I was the one. But
I said bowl. I thought you said bowl
I
instead
thought you
of
said
ball.
bowl. And yeah, I don't know. She was kind of a jerk though. Like, I don't know who's the bigger jerk in that story. So I am insecure about social things, and sometimes it's reinforced. Sometimes people are offended by the stuff I say, and they remember it for months, and then they attack my friends, and I don't defend my friends. Apparently.
You know
So-
what? That type of insecure, I mean, it's true. We do get reinforced. And that's the sad thing is that once it happens, we can get afraid of that happening all the time. And then it happens once and we go, see, you know?
That's true.
And of course,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like that's where it's frustrating. It's not like this thing isn't necessarily real. Some people have insecurities about things that aren't real. And I mean, there are people out there who are, I mean, the anorexia and bulimia is a whole thing, right? Where people think that they're something that they genuinely, their brain tells them they're something that they're not, right? I'm talking about I don't know. I hope I'm not saying anything insensitive. There's times when our brains trick us and they say, hey, you are this thing or you're not that thing. And then we start to address something that isn't even there, right? But on the other hand, there are times when we're insecure about things that are kind of real.
Yeah.
Right. That are there.
I am kind of an
and then
asshole,
the question
so
is well, no, but then it's never so black and white. Like
no.
The things that we're insecure about, I mean, maybe they're issues and only in certain situations. And of course, maybe sometimes I don't want to say we should be insecure, but maybe sometimes there are things we should work on.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Like I should accept the fact that I murder people. It's just you know what I mean? I have this insecurity that murder is wrong, but it's just who I am.
Yeah,
you know?
usually those are the least insecure people.
Yeah, I should keep murdering, you know? I should just
That's an extreme example, but
well, yeah, but to make a point.
Yeah, and actually I want to pick up on something that you said to me. I'm keeping this apparently about me the entire time, but like
Good.
You said that I'm insecure about being mean, and like I'm insecure about being a nice person or not. But like you've known me since I was a kid, and I wasn't really a nice kid. Like I wasn't kind.
That's so black and white to even say, you know? Were you just not a nice kid? No, like many kids,
mean.
sometimes you were mean and sometimes you were nice. Like that doesn't mean like what, but you seem to define yourself a little bit that way. How come?
Now I know that my mom is listening to this, and it's really like throwing me off a bit. Why do I define?
Well, but just me and you here, Aya.
Oh my God!
Here, look at me. Look at me.
Everybody's listening. Yeah. Why do I think? Okay, wait. You made a joke earlier that it is funny, but you said you have a little Aya Ishai in your brain too. Everyone has
Hmm.
their little, which is a good
I'm
joke.
playing, and I am definitely playing on your insecurity there, aren't I?
Yeah, that's playing on that
Yeah. So now I
insecurity
feel the need to
because
apologize, but also to
no,
address this.
don't.
But I also want to keep making that joke because it's objectively
I
funny.
like it. It's
Uh,
funny, and we made it before. I
but
was
also because I also think that because of the self-aware, like I'm hoping that you're also aware that defining yourself in that way is so not nuanced and not true. Like ultimately not true. Just because we're mean sometimes doesn't mean we're mean people. Just because
no
we're anything sometimes doesn't mean that's who we are. But if someone calls us out
right.
only on those, enough times or at a critical moment, then it can stick with us that that's who we are. Now, am I someone who talks a lot and really fast? I think that's more accurate. I think I do, you know. I don't think, but is that always a bad thing?
But
Maybe
yeah.
not, you know.
Plus, you're talking very slowly right now, in my
Am
opinion.
I? I feel like I'm talking fast.
Oh, really? No, you're talking slowly. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
also like I'm not the slowest talker ever,
But yeah, but going back, sorry to
but yeah, going back,
you
yeah.
being are you a mean person or
It's
no? I don't
oh,
truly
thanks.
mean people. I don't want to be friends with, and I love being friends with you. So
Oh, thanks. But I
clearly,
mean,
I
yeah,
you
maybe you
know.
just don't know. Maybe you just don't know.
So
That's
then that's
part
what
of
our
the
brains start
insecurity thing.
doing.
Is
Yeah,
like
he just
maybe
doesn't
you
know how
actually don't know
terrible I
how mean
am.
I am. Yeah, how terrible I truly am. If only you
No,
knew, right?
and
That's a
also here's
common.
here's another layer, right? You like to make jokes that can sometimes be mean spirited, and so do I,
Yeah,
by the way. But I don't define myself as a mean person. You just
right.
because it really is. It's about intention, right? Oftentimes now I can tell that insecurity comes out because you'll make a joke that is super funny, a little mean spirited, but very funny, and then you go, "Oh no, I don't mean. I shouldn't. I don't. I don't mean that." And
Yeah.
you
No,
start to
because
censor yourself after the fact, and it's like, yeah, I know.
yeah,
I know
yeah.
you're a great person. It's cool
Thanks.
between you and me. I get it. It's a joke,
Thank
you
you.
know.
Okay, so I mean, there are a few things there because like one was when you say that there's an Aisha in your brain, that's the thing is I have a very mean version of myself in my brain that sometimes there's this commentary going on in there and I'm afraid that it's going to come out or I'm kind of
So
grossed
I'm
out
gonna
that it's
cut.
part of me, you
Let me
know?
cut you off for 1 second here because I realize we may be defining things a little differently here, right? You're saying the word mean. I probably said that the joke was really to talk about your critical side.
Yeah,
You're a
that's
very
mean though.
critical person. Not
What do you
necessarily.
mean?
Being critical. I mean, I'm in an industry where criticism is, film industry
Being a judgmental
is
dickhead
everything.
is mean.
So you see it as a judgmental dickhead, but is okay. So there's ways to be judgmental dickheads, and then there's also just being a little critical, like to have a standard, whatever.
Hmm. Let's talk about me some more. No, so
Yeah,
so I know I'm apologetic about things, but that's also like I'll make a joke and then I'll apologize. But I mean, okay, that girl at that party is not the only instance where someone has commented on my sense of humor being having a biting sense of humor, I think has been the one of the
but
terms
that you weren't even being
I've
mean in that case. That's not even like an example of that, is it?
maybe I mean, I wasn't being intentionally mean, no, but I mean, if someone thinks that I'm making fun of their English and it's not their first language, I can understand how someone would think that's mean. Although that girl clearly had a lot of problems too. Like, who does that? Like, I mean, she wasn't even accusing the right person, and she was like, anyways, I'm gonna take it out on her.
She was on a mission.
She was on a mission. I hope she's listening right now.
She's like, it was her.
But yeah,
This
she's like,
whole
it was
time
her.
she
I
hasn't
knew
been
it.
able to sleep for
She
months.
hasn't. Well, that's the thing. Months later, she still totally cared. But yeah, no, I've been told like by someone that I was I was dating for a while, like, you're great, but you have like a real mean streak. And I just remember thinking like, if this is what the person that I'm supposed to be like closest to thinks of me, I mean, uh, yeah, I mean that I think that really stuck. Like him saying like you have a real mean streak. I was like, I have a
That
mean
stuck with
streak.
you. You
That
you
stuck
added
with
that to
me.
a definition of yourself
Yeah, yeah. Um,
because it
so
rang as true when you heard it. You could
yeah,
see
it
that.
did for sure. It makes perfect sense. Yeah, it makes a
You
lot
know,
of
it's
sense.
almost like that those horoscope things though. Like anybody can
Yeah, you
have a
just pick
mean.
out the
It's such
thing.
a
Yeah,
yeah. You're picking it
it's true.
out.
P.T.
Like,
Barnum
have you had a
effect.
mean streak? Yeah, exactly. The P.T. Barnum effect.
I
Like
learn.
you're
I
picking out
listen.
this thing. Like, is it true that you've been mean before it? Okay,
Of
sure.
course. Yeah.
Right? Does that, but again, to define yourself that way, I think one way to see whether or not that's true is look how much it matters to you that you're not. Like, you really don't want to be mean.
But maybe I just care about what other people think of me and I don't actually care about what kind of a person I am. Maybe I'm
I
also
mean, why
selfish.
not? Why not?
Um,
Why not both?
that's true.
I don't know. It's
Okay.
something to think about. But just, I mean, from my point of view, Aya, I've known you, I don't know, all my life. And yes,
You're
as
too
a
nice
kid,
though. You like everyone, Josh. I know you're gonna
yeah, okay,
say really
but
nice things about me right now, but it's gonna make me feel.
well, actually, I was gonna say as a kid you were
Oh,
pretty mean, but like, but like, no, that's a joke. No, you. No, but that's what we were talking about too, though, right?
yeah.
As a kid, we weren't fully formed yet, right? We are, as adults, being friends as we are and really getting to know each other. I know you're not a mean person. Do you have a biting sense of humor? Yeah. Does that gonna go well with everybody's sensibilities? No. And some people are gonna find that to be mean, and that's why sometimes some people aren't very compatible. But don't put that all on you. I mean, some people maybe some other people are a little
Yeah.
sensitive,
Maybe
you
they're the
know.
jerks. But sensitive. Sensitive. I
See,
said
that was a
sensitive.
joke. I know you're making a joke.
Okay. Okay.
Not to
Yeah, that's a
victim
good way to
blame
put it.
anybody. I mean,
No,
but
let's
it's
victim
important
blame
to
them because
point
I
out
feel a
that
lot better.
it takes two to tango,
Yeah.
sometimes.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
very wise. Thanks, Josh. I don't think
Yeah.
I
Do
I
you
feel
feel
like I
better now?
didn't. Yeah, actually I am. I don't think I helped you with your problem as much as you just helped me with mine.
I don't think because you know what, I'm not going to start. I mean, I do try actively speaking in a way that is more clear,
That's
but I
too
start
slow.
to,
That pisses me off
oh my
actually.
gosh,
Not
I'm
slowly.
pissing myself off, and obviously
Talk
I'm going.
faster.
So I'm getting some positive reinforcement here.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like that you talk fast. It's nice. It's like get to the point.
you
Yeah,
know
I mean
what? I
some
get to
people
be
don't.
when I'm working on my, I worked on this developing this TV show with three others for a few years actually.
Hmm.
We're still working on this, and in the group they see me as like the neurotic Jew. We're all Jewish, by the way. So just to point that out, in this group, this is like we're making a show that involves
So
like
you're the
Orthodox
neurotic one.
Jews and the Russian
Oh
mafia.
yeah. That was
I
the
think
one
I
you were
told you
originally
about.
going to call Unorthodox.
I was, and then somebody else made a show called Unorthodox.
It
So we
is
had
a
to
really
change
good
the
show
title.
though, so yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay. Sorry.
moving
Unrelated.
past that, though, no,
Yeah.
digressions are everything.
Yeah.
Um, if you called me out for being, digressive, I would say yes, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, that's a good. That's fine.
But you know what? This show, working with these people, they started to define me as this really neurotic, kind of all over the place, kind of, but they also see me as kind of a savant. So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
So, okay, sure, I'll play into that role a little bit because that's my role in this group.
Mm.
And sometimes, I don't know, there's something about when someone defines you as something, there's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy aspect to it as well. So you start to play the role,
Yeah,
right?
for
And
sure. Yeah.
they were surprised to see that sometimes if I'm not in that group with those people doing that thing, I'm not like that. I'm not necessarily, I don't have
Mm.
all those traits. I'm not as, you know,
Yeah,
suddenly,
it's
like I
true.
suddenly come off as way more on the spectrum when I'm working in that group. But do you find
It's
that to be the case that like it's very context sensitive? Do you think
yeah,
that sometimes you come off meaner, let's say, in a certain situation than in others?
for sure. Yeah, and I mean, it's also like it depends on the people who know me and I mean how well they know me and how long like the group dynamic because sometimes
Yeah.
like I'll be happy being not the butt of the jokes, but like occasionally I'll end up in sort of the I won't be the joker, but the jokey more.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Like
By the
I'm
way,
fine with
that's the
it.
same in this group I was just telling you about. I'm
Oh, okay.
often the guy who makes these certain biting jokes. By the way, but even between me and you, like
Yeah.
I feel like you sometimes take that role a little bit, but I
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
very dark sense of humor. And I like to push the boundaries with my humor
I
sometimes.
appreciate
Just
it.
well, by the way, that's at odds with my people pleasing side as well. So
Oh, same
I,
here.
I want to please people, but I
Yeah.
also want to push boundaries with my jokes. but in this group, there's another guy who's older than me, who's he takes this role in the group. So he's the one who pushes the boundaries. So now I'm suddenly this person who's a check on him and always trying to bring him down and be like, hey, come on, we got to get to work. We can't be talking like that. We can't be doing stuff like that. If only you knew I'm you in this other situation.
That's so funny.
You relate to this?
Yeah. You have to like balance out, or like, I can't think of specifics, but for some reason that rings super true. Just
it's
like
a group dynamic thing.
Yeah. It's like a balancing dynamic thing. It's like, you don't realize I'm the you and this other. Yeah, exactly that.
You're like you and I, like you even when you talk to me, you're like, Josh, I'm like this. I have this mean streak, and you're this nice guy who gets along with all his friends. And I'm like, you don't always. In some other situation, I'm suddenly the mean person, and some other person is the really nice, whoever. It really is context sensitive. But that also, I guess, it also goes to show that we're triggered into certain traits as well around certain people. So again, knowing that this is all context sensitive, to me at least, that helps me resolve some of those insecurities, because I know that doesn't define me in all circumstances. I know that it's context sensitive.
Right. That works for personality things.
Yes, personality things. There's other things that are.
So I think even the most, or maybe even especially the most attractive people.
Oh boy, are we getting into body image stuff here?
Well, so I mean, like, how actors and supermodels, they're the ones who are the most insecure often, even though we consider them
people that we put up on a pedestal.
Yeah, because they end up valuing that over everything else.
Because
right?
also society puts them there. We put those insecurities on them because we start talking about them in those according to those traits.
Right, and I mean that's how they've gotten a lot of what they've gotten, or like even I mean you could even go into the just girls on Instagram or wherever people are where they're being pretty, and it's like, if that's how they're getting their positive reinforcement, if that's how they're feeling valued, then it makes sense it's terrible, but it makes sense that they value their physical appearance, so that they start to see all the things that are wrong with them instead of just seeing that overall, or like, you're fine. They stop realizing that they're more than just.
Society brings up, we're talking about insecurities, like how much of this is society?
But we don't have to. We always have a bit of a choice. Like,
you don't think society plays a huge role?
Oh, it does. It for sure. Okay, sorry. That's society plays a huge role. I mean, I think it's getting better in some ways, it's getting worse in others. Like, I mean, there are all these studies about like girls who are on social media when they're younger tend to have worse like self-image things.
Right.
Whereas for men, it doesn't make a difference necessarily. Yeah, like compare, because it's so easy to compare, and people are posting like these ultra like beautified, filtered-y versions of themselves. And even if they aren't, the fact that you're constantly looking at what someone wants to present to the world makes you feel shitty about your normal self.
We're seeing a lot of fake things out there, thinking that's the ideal or the standard. I mean, that's a whole other, but part of insecurities is comparing ourselves to others. That's physically, that's intelligence-wise, people do that. They do it talent-wise. I mean, I went to film school, all right? So
you did? Tell us.
I don't know if you know this. I went to film school, Aya. See, now I'm insecure about talking about going to school.
No, you're supposed to. What else are you going to talk about? I've talked about whatever I talk about.
Well, there's a point here in that I was surrounded by people who, there's so much insecurity when it comes to people's talents. This was, again, it sounds kind of braggy. This was the quote unquote the best film school in the world, right? USC is ranked as such, right? But that comes with a lot of weight. If you get into the quote unquote best film school in the world, you're gonna be surrounded by a lot of people who feel they have to live up to this standard, right? And they're constantly, I feel like, comparing themselves with each other. They're comparing themselves with other people who've made it in the industry. I was fortunate personally when I started out making movies. I've talked about this before, but I made a whole bunch of stuff by myself in my hometown with nobody to compare myself to at the beginning. And I built up I built up an oeuvre of work. And I said that word
Ooh,
not
yeah.
well, but and
It's French.
yeah, so French and sophisticated. And so by the time I got to school, I felt very secure and confident
Mm.
in myself there. And actually, I think this is a good point to. I want to ask you, what are you secure about? Not what are you insecure
Oh.
about, but what are you not insecure
Ooh.
about?
Flipping the
Because
tables
honestly,
here.
because this is interesting. Because for me personally, there's a few things I'm actually not insecure about that I feel like other people are. Right? I'm actually not insecure about my abilities and my um, what I can do. I mean, we make jokes about bragging, but I've worked hard to be where I'm at, and I am confident in my abilities. Not that I'm perfect or anything, but I don't compare myself to other people. I just compare myself to the last version of myself, which
That's good. That's great.
I
That's
think
good
that's the
advice.
healthy
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Eventually, if you stop looking at everybody else around you and you just try to be better than you yesterday,
Yeah, I've heard that
yourself
before.
yesterday,
Yeah.
yeah, then eventually you keep doing that, and then you look back and you realize, oh, look how far I've come,
Yeah.
right? And it's not easy to not look at other people, but if you could just kind of focus on your own improvement and to beating yourself in a healthy way, beating yourself uh, in
Yeah.
a in a healthy way,
Not like a fight club
um,
in the
not
opposite.
a Fight
Yeah.
Club sort of thing. Very on point though with film analogy. But yeah, I think that's something I'm not insecure about. I like who I am, my sense of humor. I feel pretty
Mm,
good about that. I'm secure in my friendships and my relationships in that way.
nice.
Like I feel good about that, and in not being a bad person. And by the way, this is why I think it's really important to be somebody basically to be a good person who doesn't lie, who doesn't cheat, who doesn't do these things. Because when you do, you chip away at your identity as a good person,
Right.
and then you become insecure even in that.
Right. No, that
Um,
makes sense. I have pretty like harsh, not harsh, but like I don't even want to say morals, but like I've kind of like a strict set of rules for myself
mhm.
that like I follow
Yeah,
so that I can feel like I am a good person.
which is another way of saying you get to feel secure in
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's important to you to feel secure in that, right?
Mm.
So my question to you is, what are you not insecure about?
Yeah, I was trying to think, but I was also listening. But what am I not? I mean, there are lots of things I'm not insecure about. I think I have a lot of confidence in some ways. Sometimes I surprise myself, or sometimes I'm just arrogant, maybe, I don't know. But like I think I guess this is similar to yours in a way, but like I don't question my ability to learn things. Like I think that like I kind of like hearing about something I don't know about because I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna learn about that, and then I'm gonna know about that thing too. And I
Mm.
get so much satisfaction about learning something new. And like I just feel like it makes me a more
You're
interesting
secure in your
thinking
intelligence,
person.
would you say, and your ability to learn?
My ability to learn. I don't know if I would say intelligence because I don't know, like I don't think I'm smart in the way a lot of people are smart. Um, there are a lot of things I'm not necessarily good at naturally. It's
But
more
do you feel like,
I'm
oh no, I'm not smart enough? Do you ever feel that?
of course, yeah, yeah, all the time. But I trust that I can learn things well enough. So like, yeah, no, I do wonder a lot of the time if I'm smart enough. That's why I jokingly say I have a PhD whenever I do something really stupid because it kind of like undercuts my own anxiety about not being smart
You
enough.
do have a PhD. This is not even, it's not a
Yeah, but
joke.
no, I know, no, I know, but I
What's
say
the
it in
point
a
of having a
joking way.
PhD if you can't do that? Like, what is?
Exactly. I'm like, what else? This is what it's for. Um, yeah, what am I secure about? I think like whenever you're a girl, you're often surrounded by that like girl talky body image issues. And I really, it's not that I think I'm amazingly anything or that I don't have flaws. I know I do. And like, for example, I hate having pictures taken of me because for some reason my face is brutal in pictures. This is turning into just another
We all feel
insecurity.
that. No, I feel that too.
No, if you've seen pictures, I have like 7 chins that just it's like, oh, you're taking a picture. Let me extract the extra 7 chins
No one
and
see,
just
I don't
show you.
see that. I've
No,
seen pictures of you. We've been in
you
pictures
haven't
together.
seen you haven't seen the right pictures of me. Most
The
pictures
right pictures.
most pictures are brutal. So anyways, that's
I
but
mean, people on Instagram, they took 10,000 photos
it
and
doesn't
picked the
I
one.
can't it doesn't matter. I just don't have like a face for pictures. It's turned into more insecurities. No, I think overall though, I don't really feel particularly insecure about, I don't know, I shouldn't say that, but I'm not
Body image
insecure about
stuff.
my appearance. Body image stuff less. Like from the neck down, I feel
You like from the neck, relatively speaking. You're like
relatively speaking,
I'm
like when
not. I'm
girls, yeah,
relatively because girls are really, really insecure about
I
these
think
things.
they're really
Again, I
hard
think
on themselves,
society is. I think society is huge about this.
for sure.
What you know who's not? I mean, I do
I'm
think
not done, Josh. No, I'm
men
just
are the.
kidding.
Oh, I just want to say I think men are the cause of a lot of
Of course.
problems in the
Oh,
world and
oh, go
insecurities.
on. Sorry. Go on, please.
But I don't know. Sometimes there's definitely an element when it comes to girls' insecurities. But do you feel like men are the number one? Like, is it men that are saying these things, or are
Mm,
girls to each other
I think
pretty?
so. Listen, men are horrible in so many ways, but no, I don't. I don't
Absolutely.
actually. I don't hate men at all. Although
You don't have to hate them to know that they're horrible in
I
so many
did
ways.
like, yeah, it's hard when like well, we were kind of talking about this earlier, but well, up until recently, I've been working at the crisis line at the women's shelter, and like some of the stuff that you hear just constantly every day, the stuff that you hear, it's kind of hard to continue believing that men aren't the problem in a lot of ways. But I mean, obviously, I know lots of men and they're fine, so that's not, it's not a blanket statement.
They're like the number one danger to women.
But yeah, exactly.
And the number one
Yeah.
danger to men is what, like heart
Other
attacks?
men.
No,
Yeah.
it's
And
like
other men, like let's be honest, like
it's heart
heart
disease. I
disease.
think other men are down on the for men it's heart disease, for women it's men.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're laughing, but that's pretty
We're
terrible.
laughing, it's not funny. It's not, we're
No,
laughing nervously.
we're laughing on the outside and crying on the
You're not
inside.
insecure about your sense of humor, right? You know you're funny.
I don't know that, but every time I hear it, I'm like really happy. Every time someone tells me they think I'm funny, I think that's the best compliment I can get. Like, I don't know
Aya,
why. Yeah.
you're really funny.
Oh my God. I knew it was coming and I still loved it. Uh, yeah, I think that is the number one compliment for me because it encompasses so much. Like to be funny, you have to be like a little bit intelligent. You have to have like a bit of some, like, I don't know. Anyways,
It's true. You
so
can't just be, if you're really funny, like really sharp-witted
yeah,
funny, then there's an inference that you're also super like intelligent in a way.
you've got
Because
to be at least a little
yeah,
intelligent and like it's got a few things to, and it means maybe you're entertaining, maybe you're fun to be around. Like it's got a lot of,
there's a lot wrapped up in
there's a
there. I
lot
didn't even
there.
think about that.
I take it as the best compliment ever. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if I'm not insecure, but I'm not particularly insecure about it. I guess I've gotten good feedback, but that's more of a recent thing. I don't think I've always been appreciated for that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm insecure
It's really
about
hard for you to.
it's really
Are you
hard.
finding it hard to figure out things that you're secure in?
It's just hard to like, yeah, I also
It's a
wasn't
good question
prepared
to
for
ask, isn't
this.
it?
It is a good
You're like, we're
question to
talking about
ask.
insecurities, not securities.
Yeah, I have a whole list of my insecurities here that I was ready to talk about. And you bringing up securities.
What do
I
you
don't
like about yourself? Oh, I'm not ready for this.
I, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. Well, no, but I mean, I don't think I'm as critical. Like, I don't feel like, oh, so, okay, well, we were saying about body image with other girls. So, like, sometimes we are very, it's not even just that we're mean to each other about it, but like in general, women's magazines, other things like that. It's products that are sold to women. It's like this problem you didn't even know you had. Oh, now there are 10 products like telling you that it's a problem and you need to buy all these things to fix it. It's like
Hmm.
I just, so there are a lot of things that tell us that there's something wrong with us, but I think I'm fairly confident in that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I have a different question for you, by the way, after you
Please.
finish all of your.
Next. Yes, I don't have
So are we done with securities for now?
I'm done trying to think of a security. No. Okay, I'll try harder. I'll try harder. I'm sure there's something, and I'm just not like, yeah, you know what? Maybe sense of humor. Let's say sense of humor. I'm pretty secure about that.
You
I think
should
I'm
be. I
pretty
really want you
funny.
to say that. You are
Thanks.
funny, Aya.
All right. Well,
You're
I
one
mean,
of the
I'll take it.
funniest people I know.
Wow.
It's
That's.
true.
Are you serious? That's
Yeah.
craziness. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You know
Oh,
why?
that's
How I know this?
lovely.
I actually laugh out loud when you say things. I don't laugh out loud. I mean, you hear me on this podcast laughing.
Yeah.
I don't laugh out loud very easily with a lot of people.
Really? Oh,
And I love to laugh. I need to be taken by surprise, and your sense of humor does take me by surprise. And that's what I
oh
like
my
about it. I
God.
like a good, sharp-witted sense of humor.
I feel like I'm a balloon filling with helium. I'm gonna like float into the air. That's how happy these like compliments make me. Yeah, so
It's
maybe that
true
is
though.
something I'm secure
I don't
about
have
because I'm
to. I don't.
keeping
It's not
yeah.
like I have to. People listening know. They're not like going, "What is he talking about?" Like
That
I've heard this.
yeah.
I've had people say, "I really love your podcast." I'm like, "Oh yeah," and they're like, "Yeah, that girl that you do it with, Aya, she's hilarious." I'm like,
That's so nice. What are their
"Cool."
names?
And
Let me
what about me?
Oh, sorry, Jeff. Well, they already know you're funny. They already know that.
And my
Uh,
friends, I think I'm a hit with my friends. I'd like to think so.
yeah, I'm
They
sure
know
you
I
are
try. You know, the thing is
to
that
bounce off
we're
of.
again, sometimes you say mean streak, but a lot of humor, there's that sense of there's that biting element to it. Like you said, like good humor pushes those boundaries, and it's all about intention. And I guess the real question is sometimes is what's the intention there, right? It's good to have a good intention. Once you know your intention is good, I think the humor, I think you can be more secure in being
Yeah. I still don't
mean when
want to
you're
hurt
funny, you
anyone's
know?
feelings.
Of course not. Of course
Yeah.
not. And of course that's why context matters. Where you do
Yeah.
it, with who, what's the
Now
situation.
that that's come up, I should
But
apologize for episode 5, everyone who listened to the
this
God
is
and
a safe
Politics
this
one.
is a safe
Religion,
space. We're in a safe
religion and
space.
politics. I'm so sorry if I offended you. I know I said a lot of things. I was trying to be funny. I was really trying to be funny. Okay. I actually thought of something
You
I'm
had to get
secure
that off
about.
your chest.
I
You're like,
did. I
yeah,
had
you've been
to.
so insecure about whether
I
I remember you're
have.
like, oh my God, what if I've offended people?
It's ridiculous because I also, okay, I did realize something I'm secure about. I think I can listen to the sound of my own voice and I'm like, okay, I, in my mind, I was a lot dumber than I actually sound out loud. So I think I am kind of secure about like that.
Your own voice. That's
My
good.
own voice.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I can't stand that. I can hear all my little you know, all my little you know, some people do ums. I do way worse than ums. I repeat myself, I cut myself off. You hear me. You guys can hear me. And if you're not hearing it as much, it's because Aya's editing it out.
No, that's
So
not. I only edit it out when you make me. I like it. I think it's funny, but I'm sorry,
it's like
it's
get to the point,
entertaining.
Josh. Like wherever you're whatever's in your head has not come out yet. So we're
You
waiting.
just did it too. That's no. It's just yeah, there was I tease you about it because it's funny, but if it's a real insecurity, I won't do that anymore. But
Are you ever insecure like about because I'm confident with who I am in my head. What I'm
yeah,
insecure about is what comes out.
for sure.
I
Okay, so
know I'm
that's
like the
it.
most normal
Yeah.
person in my head.
Oh no, I don't think
I'm
I'm the most normal
you don't
person in
think
my head.
so? I mean, not normal
I
in
don't
every
think you're the
way, but
most normal person in your head either. But yeah.
okay, maybe normal is not the right. I'm fine with who I am in my own
Oh,
head, right?
good.
I'm
That's great.
secure with who I am, even if it's weird. Cool. Like I'm
Oh,
oh my
that
gosh,
yeah, I agree.
if you could talk to the person in my head directly, like you'd be it'd be slick, you know,
We
that
just need a
conversation
direct
would
line
be
there. We need to
yeah, you
skip
need
the
to but
note.
there's
Just go
it has to get
straight to the brain.
translated. It has to go through like a whole bunch of processes and then come up my mouth. And by the time you're listening to what I'm saying, it's messed up. You know what I mean? And I'm
I
insecure
mean,
about that.
if the stuff in your head is even better, because like honestly, you're fine. You're very articulate. You say very intelligent things. Like you're fine. You just sometimes you you'll I'm not gonna point it out because you know what you do, but like uh, no, it's fine. And I mean we all have something like so I just said like I don't mind the sound of my own voice, but I sometimes hear that like cackle that I have or that high pitched giggle,
My
which I'm
God,
sure
it's
the
so funny you
listeners have
say
heard.
that. You wanted to cut that out at one point, and I'm like, what are you
I did.
talking about? You just
It's
normal laughter.
mm, okay. Even I've been imitated by my grandma has imitated this laugh. Even like other people there's like different versions, but like sometimes I'll laugh really hard and it'll just be like a
I
it's a
love
high
it.
pitched giggle. It's
It's nothing wrong.
brutal.
It's
Oh
normal.
man.
It's so real, and there's nothing wrong with your laughter. It's great. You know, we all have. My dad, he never does this. He never like makes fun of me. He's not that type of person.
Mm.
But one time, I was just talking to him as I normally do, and I was saying a bunch of stuff, and finally he just cuts me off and goes, "You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Yeah, Josh, you know what I mean? How about this? You know what I mean? Oh, you know what I mean?" And and I'm like, what? He's like, your mother did the same thing. And I'm like, I had to stop. I'm like, what is he talking about? And I would say,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And people
Mm.
probably hear me say this on the podcast too, I'm sure.
I didn't know this
I
until you told me this story. Yeah.
yeah, and it's a filler or something that I say at the end of my
It's a
sentences.
normal one.
I
But
don't even notice that I say it. He's like, yeah, I know what you mean.
oh
and
man.
and my dad, it was extra, it caused an extra bit of insecurity because my dad, who never points out things like this,
Yeah.
pointed it out.
Yeah.
Like, my dad has been noticing this, and not only that, he related it to my mother, so it was like, it must be genetic or something.
Maybe it is. Yeah, you can't help it then.
And it's something, but I have this, it's like, it's so specific. Where did I pick up, you know what I mean?
No,
I
you
don't
know what I mean
know.
is very common. I don't think
But
that's
where did I pick that up?
anywhere. Lots of people, you know what I mean is one of the most common like sentence enders. Oh, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
I
You
guess
know what I'm
technically, but I say
Yeah.
it up so much. You know how some people say like a lot.
Yeah,
I say
I
like. We
know
both say like.
myself. Yeah.
We all say like. I figure so many people say like that we can get away with. I feel less bad about it. That it's
Yeah.
so. Of course, when you hear yourself more, like, let's say if you're doing a podcast, that stuff's
Yeah.
gonna come out. You know, and I make movies where I've been in movies before, so I get to really. That's, you know, imagine, as you said, like actors where people are
Mm.
really judged how they are on screen. A lot of people think girls just have these body image issues more than men. I don't know. I mean, I hate even talking about it. That's how I'm insecure about it. But yeah, I have body image issues. If I've been on camera, um, that's the first thing I'm looking at to see how I
Mm.
look on camera, and I'm never happy. You know, whether it's, my rubber banding weight over time, or you say I'm going for these runs. You were joking to be whatchamacallit, for me to be not so hyper when we talk.
Yeah. To get
Yeah,
your energy
sure.
out.
And
Yeah.
you know what else? So I don't hate myself
Oh, I didn't know that.
as
I
much,
didn't know that
because
part. Yeah.
I don't, I really, you know, that is a big insecurity for me, and other guys I know as well. Anybody, it's not, and to me, actually, it's not just what other people see when they look at me. You need to feel good about yourself. You know, you feel good in your own body, and that's the biggest thing. Also, for me, I don't always feel that,
Mm.
and that's a look. Even saying this right now to you is like, I don't want to think about this more. It just makes me, not happy, right?
Well, I mean, I think it's good that I think it's appreciated that you're talking about it because, like, I mean, you're a skinny guy, like not skinny, but like,
That's objectively false.
you're a slim person. Is it? I don't know.
Yeah,
I only see you from the
I don't
makeup
know.
right now.
Look, there's
So
everything's relative. It's not you know what I mean? It's not a problem for my girlfriend. It's not but
yeah.
like, but
Can
for
we
me,
point
it's
out that
like,
you have always had? Okay, maybe I shouldn't say that on air.
no,
Should I
go
say
on.
what?
Say something nice.
Okay, Josh has had like a series of beautiful girlfriends, many of whom are also
Oh.
smart, I think. Right?
Many of whom are
Many of
also
whom
smart.
I think were also at least mildly intelligent. So, like, I mean, you must be doing something okay. Not that that's a measure of a man, but like,
If only that was the measure, right?
yeah, it's
In
hard.
my
I mean,
mind, maybe it's like, aha, I tricked everybody, or something,
we all feel that. That's an imposter syndrome thing. But I mean, like,
Okay, so that's actually that was
oh,
my
that's your
question
next. I
coming
have it
up.
written down too. Oh,
Oh
good.
my
Okay.
God, this is
Oh
our final
my God.
note. This is our final thing,
Twinsies.
isn't it? I define imposter syndrome for us.
Hmm, no.
You were taking a sip of coffee or whatever. They said that I was not prepared to
I,
define a
I
term.
can't define things out of my ass. Like that's not or out of the off the top of my head, whatever the phrase
Either
is.
way, from whichever direction, defining things is
Imposter
difficult.
syndrome is the sense that you are an imposter wherever you are. So so the sense that you don't belong. So for example, like even if I had a job at a university right now, I could still think, oh, I tricked everyone into letting me have a PhD. I tricked them into hiring me for this job. And somehow
Hmm.
I've tricked them into thinking I'm competent about it. I hope no one finds out my secret. Or, I mean, apply that to something more relatable, like anything else. Uh, not what I just said. What's a normal thing?
I
What do
mean, you're
normal
right
people
though.
do?
Like a big thing for imposter syndrome is that feeling that wherever we are, or that we've succeeded in whatever point we succeeded in getting to, like they don't really know that I shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's a way
And
better
you feel like I'm an imposter, like I'm not. And of course, in my industry too, in the film industry,
Hmm.
you know, there's been look, as I said, I feel pretty confident now in what I can do. But the truth is, I'm so afraid of that imposter syndrome
Right.
that
Wait, you're
I.
afraid of having it, or you have it and you're afraid
So
of?
here's what's confusing. I actually, because I never want to feel like an imposter, I like go overboard in making sure that I am qualified or ready for the thing that
Oh,
I'm,
huh.
so because I know that I'm going, I don't ever, where there's like in business, there's a certain sense often that you gotta kind of talk yourself up, or you gotta, it's all about presentation. I am terrible at presenting myself if I don't believe it myself. Other
Mm,
people, they're able to, like, to them that's the fun of it, right?
mm,
I'm going to it's basically bullshitting your way in somewhere, right? I can really talk up my work if I believe in my work. So I need to believe in it, right? Because I can't, otherwise I'll feel like an imposter, and I don't work well if I feel like an imposter,
mm. Okay.
right? So yeah, as I told you, in relationships I can feel that way, right? I I know what it's like to feel that way, and I avoid it like the plague. Now, some people feel that way no matter what,
Yeah.
right? I'm lucky that I actually am working my way forward in my industry in a way that I'm actually pretty comfortable with my abilities. But of
Mm.
course, we'll see. If someone's like, "Hey, Josh, you're directing this new Marvel movie tomorrow," I might have a bit of that imposter syndrome, being like,
Yeah.
"Should I be doing this? Am I ready?"
Yeah.
Like,
Fair enough.
but I hope I have that problem.
Yeah, that'd be
So
a nice problem to have. Yeah.
it'll be a great
Yeah.
problem to have. So I haven't yet been faced with that. But you spent years getting a PhD, which is one of the most prestigious things you can get in our society. Everyone knows how much work. People don't really know. They know a lot of work goes into getting a PhD. They don't understand how life taxing that is.
Yeah.
And yet, even with that PhD, would you say you feel like an imposter?
I mean, yeah. So even the PhD, part of me is like, did I get like like, does it count the same way that like even while you were saying that, like, oh yeah, a lot of work goes into. I'm like, did I really work hard enough? Like, did I really get a very difficult one? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I tricked everyone into giving me a PhD.
You
Yeah.
know what I think? I believe, Aya, and I think this is true. Everyone needs to hear this. All those people that we know that seem like they've made it, and they've done
Mm,
really well, uh, heads of companies, and whatever the thing, those people that we look up to, I bet you they procrastinated a lot too. I bet
it's
you
not even
that
that.
they.
It's yeah.
No,
No.
I'm just giving I'm just giving an example. I
Yeah.
bet you they're
Sure.
not like, we all imagine everyone's doing, they must have done so much more work than me.
Mm,
Writers are always insecure about their writer's block. Like, I can't get past this. Every writer has writer's block.
mm,
This is a common thing. Even the most successful people, it's the persistence,
right.
to get where you are. Yeah, the real, I mean, there are probably real imposters out there who just, gain things by nepotism. You know, there are actual imposters, but if you are putting in effort and work, then going, well, I don't know, it didn't feel like as much work as it looks like other people did. That's where the imposter syndrome comes in,
Right. I mean, it did feel like a lot of work. So I mean, maybe I shouldn't even
That's what
say
I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah, it was a lot of
So
work.
if it,
It did make my life suck for a few years. So yeah, no, it probably counts.
that's
That's
the
the
measure. If your
test.
life had to
As long
suck
as
for
your
a
life,
couple of years.
yeah, exactly. If your life sucked for a couple of years, you earned it. Okay.
What are the different things you can feel the imposter syndrome for? We know there's
Oh,
work, relationships. What other things?
relationships. I didn't really think about that one as a, what's the imposter syndrome? Like thinking you don't deserve the person you're with, or like,
Yes, exactly.
oh,
You feel like, that's exactly it. Or you feel like I said, let's say
I've
you
never
have
felt
some
that way.
body image issue, or
I've never felt I don't deserve the
you're like,
person.
I'm a queen. They should be thankful to be in my presence.
No, I'm not that bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, the truth is,
So
if you really, really, really are, let's say, you're into somebody, you feel like if
that's
that's the
true.
whole purpose. You want to be with someone you
Yeah,
put on this pedestal. Well, if
that's
they're on the
true.
pedestal, then how do you feel like it's like this paradox,
Yeah, no,
right?
I'm sure I felt that way. I'm trying to be funny because you said that I was funny, and now I feel like I have to live up to that. Oh my
Oh no, no,
god.
we get it.
Okay. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so you could have imposter syndrome in relationships, in jobs, in anything successful, even if like even if you had like, let's say you did one of your own films and it got super successful, you might
Mhm.
feel, not that they haven't, like some of them, I mean, you have millions of views, you might kind of write it off like, oh, but it's just because of this, or it's just because of that. You don't wouldn't
Exactly.
accept that it's
You want
actually
to hear
just
something
a
interesting
good
about
thing.
that?
Yeah,
That you bring
I
that
do.
up. So we do
Yes,
have a
please.
film. It's called Active Shooter.
Hmm.
Um, by the way, whenever we talk about the film Active Shooter in public, it's always like my friend will be like, oh yeah, with Active Shooter. We're like, we should be quiet. We can't be saying that out loud. Name.
Oh,
We have
because
to
you're
be
in the
careful when you
US
say it.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big deal here. And the film
Okay.
does. It deals with it's about a father who's on the day of a school shooting, a father suspects that his son is the shooter.
Oh.
So it's a very heavy
Mm.
film, and it deals with some very heavy subject matter, right? And this film has 10.5 million views on YouTube. Just we didn't expect that, you know.
Yeah. Who
But
are these
a lot of
people?
people are going like, yeah, who are these people?
No.
We're like, wow, it's amazing, so much success. But my brain is telling me, okay, when we released it, and we kind of did this on purpose, which sounds terrible. This is gonna sound terrible, but like there was a shooting at YouTube headquarters the
Oh,
day on, like, I don't know if you heard about this. There was a time there was this
I knew
actual
there
shooting at
was.
YouTube headquarters, and we were planning to
Yeah.
put it up on YouTube, and we were like,
Oh,
is it
geez.
wrong if we put it up today?
Yeah.
Like people, it might get more attention, and we don't
Mm.
know for sure, but like it
Oh,
ended
because
up
people were probably
doing.
Googling active shooter YouTube
Yeah, so now we have
and then
this.
find,
We've always wondered, is it some evil reason that we gained success with this movie? It has a great message.
or were you just somehow like a little, what's the word, prescient? Like you knew what might happen, even though you weren't talking about a shooter at YouTube, but like, I mean, there's a safe bet that there's like a shooting most days in the US. So
Oh no,
like,
no, but we knew the shooting had happened, and then we made the choice to put it up on YouTube that day.
oh, you hadn't already like had it and were like waiting to put it, you weren't like planning to put it up already?
We were planning to put it up on YouTube, but we weren't going to put it up that day. We were maybe waiting a little bit, but to put it up soon. We were like, we should put it up today.
You actively chose to post it on a day that it would get more attention because there was an active shooter at YouTube?
Are we bad people, or are we
Yes,
smart
you're
people,
terrible
or both?
people. I'd say, I mean, you didn't hurt anyone. I'd say
I
like
mean, we just
it's,
knew that. I mean, we're dealing with it. Some could say, yeah,
did
we
anyone
won.
die
We
or no?
YouTube.
Maybe?
I think so. I think the shooter did.
I don't know. Oh, okay, that's fine. Um, what
I
the
don't know.
shooter? The shooter could
Yeah.
die.
The
I guess it's still a human, blah blah blah, whatever. Um,
So in our podcast about insecurities, we got into active shootings. Yeah, but anyway, point being, imposter syndrome. This film ended up doing well, but now we have, already we look at other things and go, it couldn't possibly be because we made a good movie or that it
right.
spoke to people.
Yeah,
It has to
that's
be this other reason.
right.
Um,
Yeah, that's very imposter syndrome. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of insecurity to talk about, and the more we talk, the more comes
yeah,
up. At least for me, for
exactly.
sure. Um,
We really delved into some
we
stuff
did
here.
delve in. Yeah, I think we did delve in, and I mean, the problem with having a whole list of things sometimes is that like you'll probably talk about two of those things. So by no means was this exhaustive. At least, I don't think this was exhaustive in any way, but I think we got to some things that hopefully that kind of gave us an idea of what it looks like from the outside sometimes, because like every time I have a lot of my anxieties that I brought up or a lot of my insecurities, the way that Josh, for example, you see it was very different from the way I see it. And a lot of the times that's the case, right? And vice
Mm,
versa.
the point of
Um,
view.
yeah, it's always, I think it's, in my opinion, it's a good practice to sometimes voice those insecurities and see, like, to someone
How
who
other
will be
people.
honest, see how other people reacts. Because if you only keep it to yourself, often it grows into like a worse thing, right?
You're saying here, it just reminds, this is really the answer to all of our podcasts, if you guys haven't noticed. But empathy
Empathy.
is really important here, because when you can put yourself into somebody else's shoes and look at yourself from their point of view,
Hmm.
that's not just help. We talk about how empathy helps, other people, and understand other people, but it really helps you understand yourself better too.
Yeah.
When you see how somebody else sees you, and maybe it's not as bad as you think it is, that's why it's one of the reasons it's so important. You'll treat yourself
Mm.
with more kindness and respect.
Yeah. It's like often we wouldn't say the things that we say to ourselves to anyone else. Like I would never,
Hmm.
some of the like, the meanest things that you say to yourself are something you would never say to someone else. Like I don't want to use my
Sometimes I
mother as an
say
example.
I
She's,
hate myself. Sometimes it's true.
oh,
I've said that before.
that's so mean.
Now, in general, do I hate myself? No, thankfully.
Okay,
But
great.
there are times that I do, and
Oh,
then I think, wow, I would never say that. Yeah, I
yeah.
would never say that about
You would
anybody
never
else.
say you, yeah.
I don't
Wow.
say I hate people. In fact, hatred is in itself is something I'm against. But
You hate
because when you
hatred.
empathize, sorry.
I just said you hate hatred. That wasn't.
I hate hatred. There you go. But you know what? I
Uh,
empathize. When you empathize with people enough, the hate goes away, and understanding comes in. And even if you have issues with people, maybe it's pity you feel instead. Maybe it's you can feel sorry that somebody else doesn't see something a certain way, but the hatred often goes away when you start to
yeah,
use your
it's true.
empathy. But insecurities can also disappear when you use your empathy.
Yeah,
So
on yourself. Just turn that empathy inward.
yeah.
Yeah, I think empathy is a good note to end on, as we often talk about it, but it really
Yep.
wraps things up pretty well,
Yeah.
I hope. Otherwise,
So,
otherwise I'm sure I'm gonna
Aya,
screw
have any of
those.
your
Yeah.
insecurities been solved after this?
Um, well, I don't know about solved.
It's not that
Um,
easy, right?
it's not that easy because they still show up, and it often logical, rational responses to your insecurities
Right.
are not what solve them, right? You just have to keep pushing past them over and over again and say like, okay, I know I think this about myself, but here's all this proof otherwise. And I don't know, you just keep doing that until it sort of chips away at your insecurities.
Do
Um,
you think it's
but
something? Do you think it helps that other people can say something that help, or you have to kind of it still comes down to you and yourself?
I think I think it really comes down to you and yourself, because if you really, I mean, it helps when people say things, right? Like, I mean, like I said, when you tell me I'm funny, I'm elated. Like I'm so happy. But
It's a pretty
uh,
straightforward one. Oh, I'm
that
funny.
one's
Okay,
pretty.
good.
Oh, I'm funny. Great. All right.
Also, even better
Um,
when they just laugh. When
or when they
people
laugh,
laugh,
yeah,
that's the best, because then it's not just what they're telling you; they can't even help it. You're so
it's
funny
true.
that
Um,
they involuntarily responded.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, so that's a good one. But I think like needing other people's approval or reassurance also isn't an answer. So I mean, it's nice to get it, but
Hmm.
ultimately you're the only one who can really treat your insecurities. And I think recognizing that is a pretty important step to actually treating them. Says a person who hasn't
Hmm.
dealt with her insecurities. But
Isn't it great
whatever.
when you can tell people, give people advice that you
I
can't
love
take
giving
yourself?
advice.
I do.
Yeah, giving advice is the best. Taking it, not as much. Yeah.
Hmm.
And please feel free to comment with your own insecurities.
Make us
Just,
feel better. Do you feel better when other people list their insecurities? Like, I'm hoping us listing these, maybe
yeah,
somebody will feel better about it. Like
I hope
you start to
so.
go, oh yeah, everybody feels the same way.
I
And
mean,
if they
yeah,
shouldn't feel it, if they feel we shouldn't, then
yeah,
maybe they shouldn't either, you know?
yeah. No, I think hearing people talk about the things that they're insecure about, often it's like, oh, they worry about that too. I'm not alone. I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't speak for everyone, but
Although sometimes we get angry, where it's like, there's like Natalie Portman if Natalie Portman was up there going like, oh
yeah,
my God, sometimes I'm just so fat. You're
it's
just
like,
like,
oh
screw
my
you,
God, I
Natalie
hate you so
Portman.
much. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
She doesn't say that, and she's
No,
wonderful.
she
So I don't
doesn't.
want,
No,
that's
she's
just that's
lovely.
a
Yeah,
hypothetical.
I know. It's okay. Yeah, so hopefully this helped you think more about your insecurities so that you can
Hopefully this made you dote on your insecurities more.
yeah, hopefully you're obsessing right now, staring in the mirror. You have a sheet of paper with you, a picture of yourself, and you're just crossing out all the things you hate.
uh,
I had someone tell me that that she did that once, that she just circled all
Really?
her. Yeah, and it made me so sad. Also, because to me, she was very clearly like, I don't want to say she was like perfect, but I was like, I don't see anything wrong with you. Like, you're crazy.
That's so much. It's so often the case. You
It's
know
so
what?
often the
Statistically
case.
speaking,
Yeah.
that's probably likely. And
Yeah.
also, I truly believe this. When you're a good person, when you're a good person to be around,
Oh, you look better. Like
people see the best parts of you and the side of
it's
you.
true.
You know, I watch those late night shows often, and I've noticed, like Seth Meyers and them,
Hmm.
and when they point, they tend to make jokes sometimes about physical appearance with people, but it's the worst people that they do that to, and I realize that yeah, they do look uglier when they're bad people.
Oh, for
When you
sure.
do
Yeah.
like right, and it's easier to make those, I guess, those jokes about their
Yeah.
their appearance or whatever it is, like, oh, he looks like a vampire. Yeah, he does, because he's acting like one.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but then the nicest people, we don't see that. I
No.
genuinely don't. Like, I look at all of my friends, generally, I'm like, none of them are ugly. They're
Well, you are in
they're
LA. I don't
beautiful.
know. That's,
I don't think there's any truth, by the way, to the fact that suddenly it's like more pretty people in LA or anything like
no,
that. I think
I
that's
have
kind
no
of a
idea.
myth.
I don't know.
I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but if you're a beautiful person on the inside, honestly,
It's
you
not kind of a
genuinely,
cliche. It's very much a
it's such
cliche,
a
but for a
cliche.
good reason.
It is true, though, to the people, especially the people that you know and love.
Yeah.
They're not lying to you when they say that they think you're
Yeah.
beautiful. Like you really, that is what you emanate.
I have a story, but I think we're wrapping
We're
up.
gonna
So
let's end with this story. What's the story?
this is one of my earliest memories actually. I was in
Oh,
Gungani and I was like 3.
Gungani is what?
I was in a preschool. It was called
Preschool. Yeah.
Gungani because it was like a little Jewish preschool. And I remember for some reason one of the other parents there or something said to me, "Oh, you're so pretty." And I said, I was a little kid. Kids are
You were
pretty, right?
3,
Like
right?
I was 3. But I
Mhm.
had been told that before, like most little girls. And I said, "Yeah, I know," because I had been told. I had already been told that. So I was like, "Yeah, I know. The last chick over there told me that too." So no, someone had told me, and everyone laughed. And my mom was like, huh, and then she was like, "Come here, we need to talk." So I remember she took me out into like the benches outside, and she was like, "Okay, so it's okay to be pretty, but it's more important to be nice and smart." And I was like, "Okay."
Oh,
And I remember that was like, wasn't a mantra exactly, but like anytime like physical appearance came up, that was like a thing that we would say. She would, or like,
that's so important to teach your
yeah,
kid. That really is a great thing that she said. I'm respect to your mother.
yeah. No, me too. And I mean, it really stuck. Like I remember it so vividly, and I think like those are really words to live by in terms of like you get to pick whether you're nice and you get to pick whether you're,
Hmm.
I mean, smart is a little more like it's hard to say. I mean, smart can mean a lot of things, but
Yeah,
you get to choose the way you are on the inside. You don't get to choose how you are on the outside to a certain extent. So, I
yeah,
mean, it's okay to be pretty, but it's more important to be nice
yeah.
and smart if you want to go there.
It's a
um,
good message to end on there.
was that a good
I like
message? I
that.
mean,
It's a-
it's my mom's. I can't take credit, but yeah,
Well,
yeah.
well, we give credit to your mother.
We'll give credit to her. Um, yeah, and I think that's all we have for today, right? We could
Yeah.
go on and on about our insecurities, but I think
Nope,
we've
we're
all had
good.
enough. I think we're all good. And thanks to Josh for doing this episode, even though this was not a topic you were excited about. I think you did great with it.
You know what always excites me is talking to you, Aya, and having a great
Oh,
conversation, whatever
thank you. So
whatever it might
lovely.
be.
That's so
It's
lovely.
true,
Thank
though.
you.
It's true.
Thanks.
I honestly believe, tell when you feel these things about your friends and stuff, you have something nice to say it.
Yeah.
Like, people want to hear nice things, not when it's not true, but if you're thinking, I was thinking that, I'm like, I should
Yeah.
probably say it if I'm thinking it.
Yeah. Why
So
not?
just a
Yeah.
little tidbit to leave with you.
And yeah, and if you liked this and if you like us, please feel free to like us on Facebook and
Hmm.
s- subscribe, you can review us, you can give us stars if you like on
Follow us
follow us, that's the other one. And yeah, thanks so much for
on,
joining us. Did I
yeah.
miss something?
Where can they follow us and subscribe and rate and
Oh,
review us?
rate, review, and subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. Is that better?
There, that was professional. I like it.
Thank you. Professional.
But we mean it
And
though.
we do mean it. And have a nice week.
Bye.
Bye.